Thank
So
you.
I think I am ready. I'm going to fire up the video here and get it all loaded. And we are going to jump into solving the Evernote puzzle. I will jump over into chat while we're here. We'll answer as many questions as we can in chat. And then we'll jump out of chat at the end. We'll jump out of the video at the end and we will answer more of your questions. So we'll just see you on the other side of the video. The video is going to run for about 32 minutes, I believe, is the total playing time. Sit back, relax, and learn the secrets of Evernote. Solving the Evernote puzzle, one of my absolute favorite topics of all time. I have taught, I don't know, I think we have over 1,000 people now that we've taught to use Evernote here at Dottotech. So it's a topic near and dear to my heart. So I'm going to talk to you now about why you may consider building your productivity system in Evernote. Now, what we're going to go through in this pre-recorded part is I'm going to take you through what I call the 5 pieces of the Evernote puzzle. And there'll be a fair bit of demoing in this where I'm actually diving into Evernote. Now, you're actually going to see my Evernote account exactly as it is today. I'm in the middle of many projects. We're launching a brand new course. So my Evernote is a mess, as it always is. But it still is an essential tool that keeps me on track and keeps me in control all of the time. The other thing I'm going to share with you today is what I think might be the best way to get started using Evernote. I've coached a lot of people on beginning to use Evernote. And the thing about Evernote is you have to find a reason that it fits in your life and you have to make it a habit. The more you use it, the more you will use it. So I've got a couple of ways for you to institute it in your daily practices. And ultimately you will find value. Many of you will find tremendous value and it'll become a part of your life. A lot of you won't as well, but that's the nature of any app, I guess. So let's begin with just what is Evernote. Now we know it's a digital note-taking application. It's a place where we can write notes, keep notes, store notes. It syncs in the cloud so that we have access to those notes in our mobile and desktop and those sorts of things. So all of those things are fairly self-evident about what Evernote is. On a more profound level, I like to describe Evernote as your digital bank account. It's the place that you store all of those little bits of information that float around that you might have kept in a variety of different places. And a huge part of the value of Evernote is it becomes a single source you go to get that information out. But just like a real bank account, the more you invest in Evernote, the more you will gain in return. There's almost compound interest that happens. When you store information, store ideas, when you trust Evernote to maintain content that you are going to find valuable at some point, when you withdraw that content down the road, that's when you realize the benefit of using a tool like Evernote. At the beginning, it's just storage. And it seems very one-sided at the beginning. Yeah, you can pour a lot of content into Evernote before you start drawing it out. But when the penny drops and when you start taking information out and start using it to accomplish whatever your goals and objectives are at that time, that's when you start to recognize the real value of Evernote. So there'll be a point when you cross over from investing to getting a return on your investment. At that point there, you'll recognize the value that Evernote brings. Essentially, the more you invest, the greater the return. And I like to use this term, which is it gives you access to all of your stuff wherever you are and whenever you are. One of the most compelling and important aspects of Evernote is the cloud aspect of Evernote, the fact that your file is the same whether you're on your desktop notebook or on your mobile device. And you have access to that information wherever you are and whenever you are. So regardless of where you've collected or created the content, you have access to it when you need it, wherever you happen to be, because of the power of our mobile devices. And that is, again, a real powerful aspect of Evernote itself. So let's go through what I consider to be the 5 pieces of the Evernote puzzle. And I look at Evernote starting as a research tool, research and content creation, content storage. Then, sitting on top of that, or underneath that, I guess, is the organization aspect. Content only has value if we can find it again when we need it. So the organizational integrity of Evernote is absolutely essential. Then we're going to take a look at the mobility aspect of Evernote, exactly how it translates into mobile and the different aspects that mobile brings to the plate. Then we're going to talk about integration, how Evernote is really at the heart of your system, meaning all of your other systems have to integrate with Evernote and be able to communicate in some way with Evernote. So it has to fit in with your system, because a lot of people will look at Evernote as almost a task manager or almost a calendar app or all of these other things because of how we store information in Evernote. But integrating Evernote with your other systems is really what's essential for getting the most out of it. And finally, the collaborative aspect. No man is an island, and nor is any app an island. So consequently, Evernote, you need to be able to collaborate with others. And Evernote actually has far better sharing and collaboration tools than meet the eye. It's actually quite profound as far as what you can do with Evernote as far as collaboration goes. So you can really take it pretty far down the path in the collaboration aspects as well. So let's dive in and let's look at these one at a time. And we're going to begin with the concept of research. And I did mention to you already this idea that Evernote is your digital bank account. It's where you store all of your information. And I love that metaphor. I love the metaphor because just like your bank account, the more you invest, the greater the return when you make the withdrawal. And we all understand the value of investing. So investing in yourself, investing in your knowledge base is what happens when you start committing content to Evernote, only if you make sure that you have a mechanism for getting the information out of Evernote when you need to. So let's take a look at how I use it on a daily basis for research just to kind of get things started. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to jump over into my web browser, and I'm just going to take you kind of through the start of my day and show you to show you how Evernote might work for you. So the way I begin each day is I actually end up starting just seeing what's happening in the world of content marketing, of social media, of technology. And I use a tool called BuzzSumo, which takes me through and shows me all of the trending topics in all of these different areas. And I have different searches set up. And as I scroll through this morning, as I went through, I was desperately trying to avoid news about the United Airlines public relations fiasco. But what will happen is, as I'm going through, I'll find a story like this one here. Let's take a look here. Facebook Messenger debuts group payments. That sounds interesting. It's in Forbes. And so as I read through this, I'm going, okay, so this is how I stay up to date. This is just me with my own professional development, staying on top of topics. Now, when I find topics that are interesting, I might tweet them out. I might add them into my Twitter feed so that my community knows about it. All that's fine and good. But this is about Evernote. So this typically is the way that I might end up using it, Evernote. Now, might think, oh, this makes a good demo. This would be a topic that I might want to do a demo on for my YouTube channel. That's gold as far as I'm concerned. Now, how am I going to remember that this is the content that I'm going to be able to save, that I'm going to be able to use for creating a video demo? So I could have a separate list that I write the ideas down in and that sort of stuff, and I do that to a certain extent. But here's the way that I would immediately use Evernote for this task: is Evernote has something called the Evernote Web Clipper that installs in all browsers. What this is it's a little browser extension that allows me to create a direct conduit between Evernote and whatever it is that I am looking at on the web page at that particular moment. And this little dialog launches here, which allows me to take this content and save it in a variety of different ways to Evernote. Now, the Evernote Web Clipper is one of those ubiquitous tools that I use every single day, and I would be now lost without, because it allows me to vacuum up information that I find online, stored in Evernote for the future when I may need it. And let me show you how that kind of manifests itself. Now, it's actually pretty smart. I can actually choose to clip the article, the simplified article, a full page, just the bookmark, or create a screenshot of it. Now, each of these is slightly different. If I just want to clip the article, watch what happens. It's going to then take the article itself. It wants to go this, and what it's doing is now it's stripping out all of the advertising. If I want a simplified article, it streamlines it completely so there's nothing else on the page. Isn't that great? So this makes it nice and clean as far as its visual appeal. I can also clip the full page if I want to see all of the supporting links and all of the outside links and all of the ads. I could actually, it actually has music on the page too, which is unbelievably irritating. And I can also take a screenshot. if I choose to take a screenshot, it turns it into a graphic that I can actually mark up, which we use, for example, when we're designing web pages or opt-in forms, is we'll use the screenshot version for marking it up for sharing with graphic designers and that sort of stuff. But for now, I'm just going to choose to clip the article, just the article itself. And here, before I clip save, you can see that I can organize it here, choosing what notebook it's going to go into. Now, I've got a series of notebooks in Evernote. Evernote is structured like a notebook, and you kind of have different chapters or different notebooks where you can store. So I'm just going to store this in my inbox, which is my main, which is where kind of my clearinghouse of all of my different content. But I'm going to add a tag, and I'll be talking about tags in a moment. But tags create context to any of the content that we clip, because we're going to search in Evernote based on one of two criteria, either based on text that we're searching for or context. So a text would be, if I'm doing a search for Messenger, context is this is a potential video that I'm going to be using. And a potential video could be on Messenger, it could be on something on a browser feature, or it could be on a new phone. So it could be very divergent as far as the text in the content, but it all relates in context as far as being a potential demo. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Once I've done all of this, I can add a remark. I'm going to say this is interesting. And then I'm going to save it. Now, when I save it, what happens is a conduit is created between my browser here and my Evernote account. Now, the Evernote account basically stores this file now in the cloud. Now, I actually even at this point share this out into one of my social platforms if I choose to, but right now I'm happy with this. I've just clipped this, I've saved it, we're good. We're ready to kind of go on to the next step. So typically in a morning, there'll be 2 or 3 things that I might clip out of the browser as I'm going through it that I might be using for different ideas and for different things somewhere downstream. Not only do I save web clippings like this, but I can also use the same function to clip email and to clip, for instance, if I've got a bill or a receipt, I'll clip those and I'll copy those into Evernote as well, so that I have access to them in Evernote, where I store all of my different paperwork. I keep all of my accounting information, all of my bills, receipts, invoices. I keep all of that in Evernote as well. It can store all of that type of content. But what you've just seen, in my mind, is how effective Evernote is as a research partner. Regardless of where I see information on my computer screen, I can take that information and I can store it very elegantly in Evernote, where I can store all of the content, plus I can apply context. I can apply notes to it as I store it in Evernote, so that I can then withdraw it at some point in the future. So this is us making investments in our digital bank account, grabbing information like this. So that gives you a quick snapshot of Evernote for research. Now, the next thing that Evernote does in the Evernote puzzle is it manages organization. And now, I want you to just forget about traditional filing systems. You know, when we started on the computer, we tried to recreate the physical world in our filing system. So just like in the real world, we have rooms with filing cabinets, with drawers, with file folders. So we had this massive hierarchical structure that we created. And we recreated that in our computers. We had folders, and we had folders within folders, and we had naming conventions so that we could find information, because we were set up, when we started to use our computer, search on our computers, frankly, sucked. Whereas our eyes were our best search engine. So we would look for a hierarchical structure that we could navigate our way through. And by reading and identifying files and folders, we could navigate our way through to whatever content we wanted. So consequently, we looked for this massive hierarchical structure. You can forget that with Evernote. You don't need a massive hierarchical structure with Evernote, because Evernote is based on search. Evernote has a phenomenal search engine built into it that will help you find almost anything you need. And if you look at all of the really compelling technologies today, so many of them are built on search. Google is built on search. YouTube is built on search. It's all about finding what you need to, when you need it, and where you need it. Evernote has the exact same philosophy. So search is very powerful in Evernote. And remember that tag that I added when I saved that file? That adds context to the content that you've created. So with that combination of search and tagging for context, you can find anything you're looking for very quickly without having to physically file it in some sort of structure. So when people are setting up Evernote, one of the challenges that they often have is they think that they have to set up, some sort of elaborate hierarchical structure. But in fact, they don't. All they have to do is save information and then have an understanding of how Evernote stores it so they can find it again in the future. Now, here is my Evernote account as it sits. And right here is, let me just go to my inbox. I'm not in my inbox right now. Let me just jump over to my inbox so you can see. So right here, if I sync it, you'll see there's that new document that I just imported from Forbes magazine. So there's that document that I just imported. But if you take a look at my Evernote account, it looks like a mess if you're just looking at it on the surface. But I don't worry about how it looks because I use this search feature to find everything I need when I need it. So I do have a bit of a structure to my Evernote account. If I click here on the inbox, you can see that I've got course outlines, I've got demo notebook, I've got the different products and different courses that I've built. I have actually saved as different notebooks, so I've got some structure to my Evernote. But frankly, since I set that up, I don't really rely on that very much. Instead, what I do is I create individual notes for whatever it is that I'm working on. And I use this shortcut bar here on the side for anything that's kind of top of mind that I'm working on at any one particular moment. Right now, we're in the middle of working on a project called Winning at Webinars. Winning at Webinars. It's an online course that we've just started to sell. And here's my note where I'm keeping track of all of the different little pieces that are going on with that. It's a rather long note, and it seems like kind of involved, but I have access to it instantly wherever I need it. And I know all of the stuff is in there in that I can gain access to it when I need it. Now, I do that through a combination of search or visual search by putting it into my shortcut bar. But I don't worry about making sure that it's in the correct folder all the time and that sort of stuff. I just, that sort of structure has gone by the wayside as far as Evernote's concerned for organization. Now, if you are A-type personality and you need everything to be in the right folder, by all means, go for it. But the rest of us can be just as organized as you without everything being in the right folder because we can just search for it at any time. And Evernote has such powerful search, it will blow your mind. Let me show you how powerful the search is. The first note that I ever made in Evernote was this note here. This is a image that I took on a BlackBerry in 2011 at Taverna Gragona, a restaurant not too far from where I'm sitting right now where I was with friends. And I sat there with a BlackBerry and I took a picture of a bottle of wine, a label of wine, because I thought, this is a good wine. Maybe this is the sort of stuff I should save in Evernote because I might want to be at a liquor store sometime and look up this picture so that I can buy this wine again. I saved this note and I didn't think about it for years till I was searching for wine. And when I saved the note, I saved the name of the restaurant. I didn't write down that it was wine. But Evernote's such a powerful search tool that it parsed out of the name on the label, it parsed out the word wine to the point where I search for wine, I can still find this based on the words that are in the image. That is how powerful Evernote is for storing information and allowing us to gain access to it again in the future. There is no better place to store information for retrieval than Evernote. Now, you might have to learn a few tricks of the trade as far as how you parse your search and especially how you apply tags. When I talked about the structure of Evernote before, I mentioned that it wasn't important to me to have lots of notebooks. Notebooks are not necessarily important to me. The tag structure, the tags that I use to create context on my search, those are very important. So as you kind of mature in the use of Evernote, learning to set up and use your tags effectively, I think is the most important skill that you can learn as you move ahead and as you develop additional Evernote skills. So we've talked about gathering information in Evernote, and we've talked a little bit about the organizational structure and how you find things within Evernote when you need them. Next thing I want to talk about is mobility. Now, we take our phone, if you're on a typical day, you might be sitting there working away at home, creating some content, writing away, and then you head out on the road and you have lunch with somebody. And while you're having lunch with, they could be a colleague, they could be it could be just a friend. You mentioned, you said, hey, geez, I was just reading an article today about Facebook. They're doing this thing with Messenger now where you can actually share the bill amongst multiple people using Messenger. And the person goes, shut the front door. I don't believe you. And you go, absolutely. And you call up your phone and you just pull up Evernote. And look, I've opened Evernote and there is our new note right there at the front of Evernote. And if you want, you can share it with them right at that moment. You've got the ability to access all of your content within Evernote from your smartphone at this particular moment. So you become the person that has the world at their fingertips. Now, can you imagine if this was a business problem that you're going through and you're sitting there meeting with your team and somebody asks a question and you say, oh, I saw an article on that. Well, if you have to wait till you get back to the office to find the article, that there's a few cycles. It could get lost. You could forget to do it. Not anymore. If you say, oh, wait a minute, I saw an article on that today. You open it up and now you can share it with your team at that instant. This is where we begin to see that withdrawal, the benefit of doing a withdrawal, the investment that we've created in storing content in Evernote now starts to show its value as we start to withdraw and share and disseminate the information in order to advance whatever purpose we have. Now, this note might be something that you captured this morning, or it might be a bottle of wine that you captured, what is that now, 7 years ago. You've got the same ability to grab that information from your Evernote account at any point. That's where we really start to see the magic of Evernote coming to the fore. Now, while we've got our phone, let us not miss out the fact that the camera on our smartphone is one of the greatest vacuum cleaners of information that we have. And we can use this camera to suck up information and store information. Now, think about it for a second. I showed you how a bottle of wine, Evernote would parse out the word wine from that bottle. Evernote will do the same if you're taking pictures of whiteboards, if you're taking pictures of notebooks, if you're taking pictures of napkins where you've drawn ideas on, or chalkboards. You can take pictures of anything and Evernote will pull the information, the written information out that it can find in it, or you can add tags or your own handwritten notes, your own notes that you write into that, right within Evernote, and now you've got this mobile collection system. Far more efficient, I think, than just writing in a notebook, because grabbing images is so much more powerful and so much more relevant and so much quicker than writing notes. I mean, I love it for the sitting there and taking pictures of whiteboards as you're brainstorming with your team. What could be better? Evernote in mobile absolutely shows its strength, and that's where you really start to see the return on investment that you put in Evernote. The fact that when you're in mobile is so often when you call up and you source information that you've stored in Evernote to use for the future. And the next thing I wanted to talk about on the Evernote is in the Evernote puzzle is integration. And now Evernote really does integrate really well with most platforms. Now, depending on which task app, I'm not going to dive into the vagaries of each and every task app, etc. We've got plenty of videos where we talk about this online. But there are ways to make Evernote integrate with your calendar apps, with your email apps, and with your task apps, where you create a task in Evernote and it can translate straight through to your task app. Now, it's a little bit of a more involved demo that we have time for in this particular format today, but there are ways to make it integrate. And all you have to do is you just have to take a look at any spec sheet of any productivity app on the planet, and you're going to find Evernote integration there, because the bottom line is everybody wants to work with Evernote. And consequently, most everybody does work with Evernote because they recognize the value of Evernote in that system. So as far as integration goes, there are so many different apps that it can integrate with. I don't want to spend too much time demoing any one or the other, but it doesn't take you very long to take a quick look at the task apps and the calendaring apps and the email apps that you use to determine whether or not they integrate with Evernote. And even when they don't natively integrate with Evernote, what you saw me doing with the Evernote web clipper in the browser means that any app that you run in a browser can integrate with Evernote. With Evernote, if you have the premium version, you can have an email address in Evernote that you can send information into Evernote from any app. Or from any email-based app that you have, or any app that has email capability. So there are multiple levels of integration that you can discover using Evernote, that you can take advantage of using Evernote. Now, the last one that I wanted to show you is one that really changed my life, and that's the collaboration aspect of Evernote. Now, I think the collaboration and sharing aspects of Evernote are vastly underappreciated by the overall community. When we think about sharing and collaboration apps, we think of Dropbox and we think of Google Drive, and they're spectacular. And there are other ones as well. We think of Slack. They all do a great job in different areas of sharing and collaboration. Now, Evernote has almost all of those functions built into it as well, or many of those functions built into it as well. They've got something called Evernote Work Chat, which will actually allow you, if you're working with a team, to chat with other members of your team. Now, it's not my favorite app. We don't tend to use it ourselves. We use Slack ourselves for all of our inter-team communications, but Evernote has it built in as well, should you need it. Now, I think far more relevant than the Evernote, the work chat, is the sharing tools and the Evernote note structure with how it shares notebooks, notes, is understanding how that works, and then how you can integrate that in your life. Now, let me explain. Any note or notebook in Evernote you can share, and when you share it, you create basically an HTML or a web link for that particular note. Because think about it now. Evernote, because it's a cloud-based tool, every note that we create has a URL. It's because it's stored in the cloud. So consequently, if we can access that URL, if we can articulate that URL, we can share it if we have a switch set to allow people that don't have our account to be able to access it. So any note that we create, anything that we have within Evernote, we can choose to share it. And if we share it, we then have a URL. That means other people can open it, which means that we can almost use Evernote as a web publishing system. Stay with me. So I can take this note right here, and I can copy the public link. If I copy the link of this particular graphic of the wine, let's go back to my bottle of wine, and I go into my browser, and I paste that link, what you'll see come up, and even if you're not logged into Evernote, if you don't have Evernote, it's going to come up in your browser, is you're going to see that web page that has the bottle of wine come up. And here it is. Boop. Taverna Gorgona is the title, and there's the picture of the bottle. Now, that's not too fancy. It's not necessarily the best example of sharing a note, but you get the idea. Now, let me tell you how I ended up using this and how you might end up being able to use it very elegantly as well. When we developed our course, Evernote Made Easy, I thought I could take each course, each module of each element within our course, and I could make it a shared note that people could then, so instead of sending them to a web page that I've designed that has the course content, I can build my course as a series of shared Evernote notes. And this is our actual course. This is the first lesson of Evernote Made Easy, my course, and that's what the lesson looks like. But what you get, and what people get when they sign up for the course, is they get this link. So what it is they get a link to the course content, and it's all right here. And the cool thing is that they can then take this page and they can save it in their own Evernote notebook, which means they can create their own Evernote textbook. Now, I can go in and I can change the original content in here, and if they refresh their note, they are updated. So what we have here is a very simple learning management system that we used to deliver our most successful course, and it doesn't cost us a nickel to manage that system because it's all based in Evernote. Now, I have used this over and over again for a myriad of things. After many webinars that we deliver, we create a resource page. Rather than making it a PDF document that I can't change in the future, I make it an Evernote note, and I share the Evernote note when I send out my notes to my community, so that next time I deliver that webinar, if I want to edit the content, I don't have to re-output a PDF. No. I've just got the updated note that I can share. So you can use this as a content publishing system very effectively because Evernote has all of that capability. Now that's for public sharing. You can also use it for team-based sharing where you can collaborate on notes, where you can be working on different projects together. Evernote gives us all of that functionality as well. So I know that we've kind of raced through an awful lot here, but Evernote is just one of those applications that, even though it seems very simple on the surface, it's a mile deep as far as what you can do with it. And it's more a framework than it is an application, because it's how you craft your content and how you craft the system with how you use Evernote is going to determine what your Evernote installation looks like. There could be 10 people And not one of us use Evernote the same way, yet we all will get the same amount of value out of Evernote, or a similar amount of value out of Evernote. It's up to you to understand the tool, understand your need, understand what the tool brings to the table, and then it will fit within your system. And I like this for another reason. Is one thing about productivity systems is I don't think they work when you have to change the way you work to allow for the tool. Evernote is so flexible that you can mold the tool to the way that you do your job. And that's an important aspect of Evernote. Now, if you're just getting started in Evernote, I have a treat for you because we've got a couple of things. In a moment, I'm going to give you a little bit of a blueprint on the best way to get started using Evernote. But as soon as this webinar is over, we are also going to send you out a link which will include access to a mini course that we've created, which is Getting Started with Evernote, which will walk you through in a lot more detail the basis of using Evernote and getting set up than I was able to cover in this little webinar today. But here's, in a nutshell, what you're going to learn. Is I encourage people to just start out in Evernote making 3 notebooks if you're just starting. Don't worry about a big hierarchical structure. 3 notebooks: personal, business, and inbox. Inbox is a clearinghouse for everything. Business is business-related stuff, and personal is personal-related stuff. Just use those notebooks till you decide you need more. Then, what sort of content should you put in? Well, you can decide what sort of notes you want to take, but I'm going to give you an idea of the sort of notes that you should put in your personal and maybe in your business folder to start. Take your smartphone, after you've installed Evernote on your smartphone, access your account, and walk around your house taking pictures of all the little bits of things that you occasionally have to buy. I'm talking about going under your counter and taking a picture of your water filter so you know what type of filter you have. Go to your furnace, take a picture of the size of the furnace filter you have, so that next time you're at the hardware store and it's the beginning of fall and you go, geez, I should change my furnace filter. Do I have a 18 by, or is it 16 by 20? Oh, I got it right here. Mark down your partner's ring size, dress size, shoe size, favorite color, favorite author. Take notes of that sort of stuff so that come her anniversary, your anniversary, and you've gone, geez, I haven't bought her anything yet. At least you know her ring size or her shoe size if you're at the store. It's brilliant. It could be a lifesaver, and it definitely could be a relationship saver. Go around taking pictures of the types of batteries that you have, the unusual batteries for different tools that you have. If you've got strange light bulbs in your bathroom or under your counter, take a pictures of those light bulbs so that when you're at the hardware store, you know what type of light bulb that you need to buy. All those little things that you may forget. That's what you can start with, taking pictures of all of the little bits of things in your life that you might need access to at some time. That should open your eyes to some of the potential of Evernote. Oh, take a picture of your license plate and your partner's license plate number on the car, because if you take your partner's car, park somewhere, and then you're paying for parking and you say, I can't remember what her or his license plate number is. Oh, I got it right here. There it is there. I use Evernote and take pictures of the parking meters so that I can know when if I have to refresh my parking meter using the app. Lots of things like that, all within Evernote. So that's how to get started. I know that there's going to be probably a gazillion questions, so we're going to stop the pre-recorded part right here, right now, and we're going to dive into the Q&A.
Ooh, in advance.
Oh my gosh, we have some serious Q&A happening. All the questions. There was questions. I gave up trying to answer questions in the in the chat. There were so many questions, but I hope you folks found that to be valuable as we went through all of that content. Now, before we get into your Q&A, and we will answer, we've got 20 minutes. We'll answer as many questions as we can through to the top of the hour, and then we'll stay here beyond the top of the hour and answer it until we get through all of the questions, or until I exhaust myself and fall over sideways. But before we do that, I just have to share with you what's coming up in the next couple of weeks here on Dotto Tech, and what.
Oh, we lost him. Where'd you go, Steve?
Webinar Wednesday. For those of you that this is the first time, we do this each and every Wednesday. We give a training, a tutorial on some topic. They are social marketing related, productivity related. Next week, we're going to be doing my top 10 mobile apps. Actually, we have more than 10 apps, but there's 10 productive apps and then some fun apps. We're going to be taking a look. I'm always interested in what's on people's phones and what they use and what tools they end up using on a regular basis. Next week, Webinar Wednesday, is my top 10 mobile apps. You just go to the exact same URL that you used to originally register this. We use the same URL. so you can register for next webinar Wednesday. So keep your eye open for that. Now, I wanted to also let you know and send a big shout out and thanks to our supporters at Patreon. I mentioned that off the very top of the show, but we would not be able to do these webinars, these weekly trainings, without the support that we get from our awesome community at Patreon. So for those of you who are hearing about it for the first time, here's the deal. If you go to patreon.com/Dottotech, you'll see that you can sign up and become a supporter of Dottotech. In return for that support, we have different perks that we deliver to you. Your support, though, means that we can pay our team so that we can keep doing this sort of content and delivering the sort of content that we do. And every nickel that we raise from Patreon goes to support the Dottotech team. So we appreciate your support big time. Now, what do you get as a perk? The perks are pretty good, I think. And actually, this week, the perks might be even more relevant than ever, because the first perk that we give at $10 at the $10 a month level is we give access to my course, Evernote Made Easy, our 11-part course where we send out and we train you on Evernote from A to Z. I know a lot of you have taken that course in the community, and I during the chat, I saw a lot of nice comments about the course. So that is the first perk that our patrons get. But they also get access to these archives, these Webinar Wednesday archives. What we do every week is we deliver the webinar for free, and then we make the replay available for 48 hours. After that, we pull the replay down, but we make it available in an archive to all of our patrons. And so this is our 12th or 13th webinar since we started this series. And every week, we add another great tutorial webinar to the series, and so you have access to all of those trainings as a perk of being one of our patrons. And then additionally, you get 50% off on all of our premium courses. As again, the timing is perfect. We are just launching a course this week on our called Winning at Webinars, where I teach people how to produce and deliver webinars of the sort that we do, dealing with all of the marketing, the preparation, the technical aspect, the follow-up, the building a business basically around webinars. And that course is already launched. A lot of you were in our webinar yesterday where we launched the course we introduced the course. The course actually begins next month. But that you get a 50% discount on that, which takes it down to $250. We've had a whole bunch of you already sign up for that, and we appreciate it big time. So bottom line, though, is if you support us on Patreon, we can continue to support you by creating great content. And we appreciate all of you who are supporting the Dottotech brand and making it so that we can continue, to deliver these webinars to you on an ongoing basis. And I see the ladies have turned off their cameras because we're concerned about bandwidth as we come out of this. So let's jump in now, and let's jump in and start taking questions. How are we doing? There's about 8 gazillion questions.
There is lots of good stuff. I have to start
feeding. Just a minute.
I was just going to ask if you were if we were going to Facebook Live.
Yeah, we're sending it to Facebook Live as I start right now, so it should be feeding through to Facebook Live. I'm concerned because my Wirecast screen doesn't seem to be moving, but my the feed here is, so we'll see if it works.
I just got a notification.
Okay, well, crossing our fingers. All right. Let's get to questions, April.
All right, so epic webinar here.
It was. Numbers-wise, for sure. I don't think we've ever had over 500 people live on a webinar before.
It's totally awesome, and I can't believe all the questions.
Yeah,
so
it's almost too big. I think it's almost too big. I've always been kind of measuring, just as a complete aside, an editorial comment. I've always been trying to figure out, what the optimum number of people to have in a webinar, and I almost feel overwhelmed by the number of questions this webinar. And so I'm wondering if we can deliver as much value when there's this many people. Maybe 500, maybe 300 people. Kind of that. It seems to be a little more optimum. Not that I don't appreciate all of you being here. Trust me.
Well, and I think Evernote's just a really hot topic.
It is.
All right. So first question is from our friend Diane. Do you use the free version? This is an easy one.
No, I use the paid version for several reasons. First, I use all the features and I take advantage of all the features. But the second reason is Evernote is a really important product to me. It's because it's the heart of my productivity system. I want the company to succeed. And I know there was another comment about whether or not Evernote was profitable with their new pricing structure. People are concerned. I don't want Evernote ever to be in trouble, and I don't want them to ever really sell to anybody else. I want them to be a profitable company. And I figure the one thing I can do to help that is to pay for the product. It's not very much. It's less than $100 a year, I think, that I pay. And when I consider how important a tool it is for me, I'm happy to pay the price for the value that I get in return. So that's my philosophy on Evernote.
All right. Awesome.
Hey, Steve, it looks like the video is frozen on Facebook.
It is frozen. Yeah. So I'm going to try and refresh. I don't know how to refresh Wirecast. See if I can. I'm going to push it through. Go ahead with the next question and I'll try and do it.
All right. So I'm a premium user of Evernote. Is there a way to set the default email client? I use a Mac, but use Gmail and Zoho as my mail system.
So is there a way to, what's that? Reset the what?
Nope. Brant is a premium user of Evernote and wanting to know if there's a way to set the default email client. He uses a Mac, but he uses Gmail and Zoho as his CRM.
I'm not positive. You'd have to check with Evernote support for that.
Okay. Colin's asking, are we going to cover good tips on searching? Oh, the search box is simple, but one has to remember or find out the best search.
No, I don't. We don't cover that in this. We can't cover that kind of detail here because it's going to be way over most people's heads. We do go into that detail in Evernote Made Easy.
All right, perfect. How is doing financially as now? Okay, I'm going to come back to that one. When sending a file from Evernote, why does it come like an Evernote file and the recipient needs to use Evernote? So now I have to save to the desktop and email from there. So basically, if you're sending a note to somebody else and they don't have it, they have to join Evernote.
Yeah, no, you don't have to do that. What you can do is you send them the share link. And then the share link will send them a web link, and then you can open it in Evernote or you can view it in a browser. The exact way that I showed sharing in the demo, you can do it by bypassing Evernote completely.
Okay. Looks like we are good on the video on Facebook Live.
I refreshed the browser, not Wirecast, so just for future reference. Thank you.
Andreas is asking, Evernote. Do you know if Evernote is fully compatible with Windows phones?
Not positive where it sits with Windows phones right now. I imagine Windows, OneNote is going to be more a product that's more concerned about being compatible with Windows phones, but I'm not positive where it sits. I don't have experience personally.
Okay. John is concerned that all his data is in a proprietary app that could fail, go away. Is Evernote financially strong? Is there an exit strategy if needed?
You can export all of your notes as PDFs. So there is a backup strategy, and we actually cover that in the course. We talk about it, but that is the risk. People consider the other thing is how secure is Evernote? I'm sure that question will be coming up, and I want to address that as well. Evernote is only as secure as any other cloud-based service. It's no more secure. And unfortunately, Evernote has resisted giving us encryption options that are practical. They're very draconian as far as the encryption options. So you have to be very careful about what you do share on Evernote. But you do have an option when you create any Evernote note to create as a local note, which is just stored on your local computer, and then your own security settings kind of take place, or as a shared note, which you actually sync on the web. Now, what you'll lose if you don't share a note is you won't have access to it on all your devices, but on your main device, that note will be far more secure. So that's something that you should be considering. As far as the overall health of the company, I don't know. As far as I can tell, I think that they're doing quite well. There's a lot of people that use it. But we certainly there was certainly about 6 months ago, a lot of turmoil. That seems to have died out, and they seem to be kind of back, at least out of the news. Mind you, there are so many other things in the news. Maybe that's a reason that they haven't been quite as prevalent.
We're not going to go there, but people are asking about your
We're not going there. I didn't go there. I just said those other things. Give me a break.
Gary wants to know if the Evernote Hello app is still available, and if not, what's the alternative?
I barely remember what Evernote Hello did, so we know it's not available, and I actually can't remember. I can't offer a suggestion. I'm going to start looking on a cough drop because my throat's really bad.
Okay. Robin is asking how do you sort which content goes into Evernote and which info goes to Word? I'm getting lost between the two.
I never use Word. I use Evernote for everything. When I'm doing a collaborative document that I'm writing with our copywriter, with Sophia, I use Google Docs, but I don't use Word anymore. So for me, it all starts in Evernote, and then I move it somewhere else if I have to collaborate with somebody else or if I don't want to collaborate in Evernote. But for me, Evernote, everything goes there. I don't use Word for anything.
Robin, that's a true story too, because I tried to send him a Word doc before and he's like, what is this? This is crazy.
This is foreign material.
is. Carlos is asking, I just got a Samsung S3 tablet with a stylus pen. Is there a version of Evernote for Android that allows the use of a stylus? You know what? I actually have the link to that, Carlos, and I'll send it your way for the app.
And you know what? And if that's my main setup, I would seriously take a look at OneNote as well, because OneNote rocks as well.
Okay. Let's see. I know you can do tagging, etc. I've used Dropbox for a long time. Besides tagging, why else would I switch or use in conjunction with? So,
are they comparing it to Dropbox?
I think so. Yeah. Because
Dropbox there's no comparison. Evernote is a note taking app. You gather information and store it. Dropbox is primarily a storage and sharing app for sharing files. So there's no comparison really between the two.
Okay.
They work together as opposed to doing the same thing.
And Marie's asking, how do I get Web Clipper to run automatically?
I don't know what she means. Web Clipper is installed in my browser, and all of my browsers, and it's just there, and you choose what style you want to capture each time. But Web Clipper, you wouldn't want to run automatically because you don't want to be capturing everything. Okay.
Kevin is asking, what are your thoughts on the latest price changes? Do you think they will be here for the long term? A little scary if all my info gets dropped into the tool. So I think there's a concern, obviously, again, about the longevity of Evernote.
I can't. I think that they're going to figure things out. That's all I can say about that.
Okay. What are your thoughts on minimizing tags? How do you minimize and have them still be useful?
Tags are the one thing that I have to go into, and I occasionally have to curate. I'll combine tags and pay attention to them. So in your Evernote structure, you can have notebooks, which you store files in, basically. But tags are the context search that we talked about. And tags, in my mind, are one of the most valuable aspects. The Michael Hyatt article on how he uses tags in notebooks is brilliant. But tags, when I've got a flight, and I've got a quiet flight, 3 or 4 hours, and I don't really have any other work, any other writing, I go through and I curate my Evernote account, and I go through and I check all my tags, I combine them, I refresh in my mind what tags I have, because as you're saving content, if you haven't saved something in an area for a long time, you might not remember what the tag is for the context for that, for the stuff that's, kind of not top of mind, kind of longer term storage. So that's an area that you return to, that I would return to, and I go through and, as I say, clean up from time to time.
Okay. Let's see. This is a good one. Marek.
They're all good.
They are all good. Marek is asking, what product do you use for creating your hairstyle?
Yeah, that's really funny.
Okay. Right now, my hair is super long because I haven't had time to get the barber, and my beard is way out of control. So normally it's Suavecito, but right now it's Dippity Doo. And I guess Suavecito doesn't work, so it's Dippity Doo right now.
Dippity Doo. Actually, we have a gel called Dippity Doo here in America. I'm going to send it your way. I'm going to bring it to you. All right. The screen capture, Bill is saying the screen capture seems to diminish the resolution for result. Could it be a wrong setting?
Screen capture is, if he's talking about the video that we're feeding through, the bandwidth of the internet might have been YouTube will automatically degrade the quality of the video if you don't have bandwidth to support it. They'll make sure the audio continues unabated, and they'll degrade the quality of the video. That's what I imagine he's talking about. And it wasn't a setting on our side. It was just probably the internet.
Okay, great. And just a side note, friends, if you're putting questions in the chat, if you can mark them to questions, because there's a lot of questions here, so I don't want to miss them. Isn't it confusing to save bookmarks and notes in the same place? I use Digo for bookmarks with tags and highlights directly on web page and Evernote for my notes. I don't know which way is better.
My bookmarks I save mainly in Chrome, so I don't typically use Evernote to save my bookmarks. I will instead save web pages that I search for. So I don't actually have a strategy for you, and I wouldn't. I can see why you're confused if that is the case, and that's probably one of the reasons that I separate the two.
Okay, how do you store an email without emailing it? It's kind of a pain.
Oh, without emailing? Well, you can, if it's in the browser, if it's a Gmail email, you can just use the web clipper to clip the email. And there's another tool which we don't. I did a video on, and then I pulled the video. It's called PowerBot. There was some issues with it, but it will automatically take an email and send it to Evernote as well. But there's some security issues around it, and I ended up pulling the video. I wasn't really happy with the product. But just using the Evernote web clipper, if you can access your email in the browser, is a great way to store emails that way.
Okay, and Neil's asking, how secure is Evernote?
Not. It's no more secure than Dropbox or any other cloud-based service. So I would say they're all pretty much, and we know one thing. Hackers are trying to get into all of them all the time. I mean, my website, our little Dottotech website, I get, if I turn on my notifications of attempted hacks, it's going all day long. And I can just imagine that services like Evernote and Dropbox and Google Drive are an order of magnitude greater. So they aren't secure, and we're foolish if we think they are. So we have to have plan B, making sure that we're not storing sensitive information, anything that we feel that could compromise us. So it's as secure as anything else online, but nothing online is secure.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you have any questions on Facebook Live yet, Jen?
We don't.
Okay. All right.
We don't serve the Facebook Live community well with this form yet. We're still figuring that part out.
We're frozen again.
We're frozen again?
Yeah, but the audio is still there, and people keep hopping in and out.
Got to figure this out and make it work. There, I just refreshed the browser again. See if that works for you.
Okay, our friend Larry Snow is asking, are articles that are stored still dynamic? For example, click links, play video, etc. Are articles that are stored still dynamic is the question.
Okay, so I don't know what he. When you create an Evernote note and you share it, it is not dynamic. It's static. When you change the original file, if somebody who accessed that file does not refresh the file manually, refresh the link, they will have access to the old content. Plus, if it's a shared document, if they make a change to the document on their side, that's local to them. They're not changing back. That's unless you've set up a collaborative document. So I don't know if I've answered it, but there's a structure to sharing. It's more, think about sharing in Evernote more like publishing, is where you're taking a link, you're publishing it out to people, and as opposed to actually creating a share link. I hope that makes sense.
Okay. Brady is saying, I'm taking notes for this presentation in my Evernote inbox. What would be good tags for the topic presentation? I probably have too many tags.
I always have. That's why I curate my tags. I'm always struggling with what the best tag nomenclature is. Again, if you want a really great advice on that, that's great structure. Michael Hyatt's note that was shared earlier is brilliant.
All right, great. Is saving emails available on the free version of the Evernote account?
No, I think they've taken that out. I think that's a premium feature now.
Okay.
Somebody will correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure that's the case, though.
Okay. Is there a web clipper in the mobile app?
No, they took the web clipper out of the mobile app. There are ways to save things in the mobile app, but they took the web clipper out because it was a nightmare.
All right. And are there Boolean
searches? Yes.
Yes. Okay. What happens to your content if you decide not to renew your Evernote plan?
All of your existing content is the same. You just don't have the same access to the amount of storage any month moving forward. So they don't take any of your notes and then say, oh, you've got too many notes. Your current storage plan doesn't allow for it anymore. So all of anything that you've paid for, anything that you have in your Evernote account is locked at that point there. And then you can add whatever the free amount of extra data is per month. And then you lose some of the features. You'll lose some of the abilities within like you lose the note history abilities and that sort of stuff, but you won't lose the notes.
Okay. Let's see. Could you tell me more about your experience integrating Evernote and Trello? Up until now, I've used Trello for most of my storing and sorting activities, but it starts to be a bit overwhelming as the amount of information increases. Have fun storming the castle.
Thanks. We don't use Trello that much. So I can't actually talk to the integration of Evernote and Trello. Evernote to me sits at the heart, but I don't really bother integrating it too much with anything other than my email system. To be perfectly honest, I don't bother. We do share notes. We do use the web links to share notes into Asana, which is very similar, but we do it primarily through the web link sharing as opposed to any sort of automated process. I use Evernote's my storage, as I say, it's my digital bank account, and then that for things like task management, calendaring, reminders, I tend not to use Evernote for that. I use other tools for that. I use Asana for most of those other sorts of things, because Evernote is better at file storage. It's not really designed as a task manager. So trying to get it to do those things, I think is you can, but it's not the best tool.
All right, great. Can you make subfolders into notebooks?
Yeah, you can change folders into notebooks if you choose. I believe you can. Let's just it's 11 o'clock. Let's just pause for a moment. We will answer more questions. Fear not. I don't even know how many people we have left. Do we still have a number? Oh yeah, we still have 443 people on. But it is the top of the hour. And one thing that we like to do here on Dotto Tech is respect your time as much as possible. So for those of you who have other plans, feel free now to exit the webinar with these caveats. You will be sent a replay of this entire webinar, including all of the rest of the question and answer period. About an hour from now, you'll be getting the replay link. And then you've got 48 hours to view it, unless you happen to be one of our patrons, in which case you have the rest of a long time to be able to view the content whenever you want to. Join us next week for another webinar when we talk about our top favorite mobile apps. And I have to thank both April and Jen for their yeoman-like work, and for all of you for great and engaged community today. This was a really special webinar as far as that's concerned. So for those of you who have to leave now, you will get an email very shortly. It also contains the link to that little mini course that I promised you. But hopefully we'll see you back again real soon. Until next time, you guys have fun storming the castle. And the rest of you, let's continue with their Q&A.
All right. Let's see. Colin's asking, on desktop on PC, the shortcuts to the on desktop on PC, the shortcuts appear to the left on mine. Is that, I think maybe it's from your video, maybe it's the way that it's shared.
Yeah, they have different layouts on different, in the different apps, the Windows app, the Mac app, the mobile app and Macintosh, they're not the same. They change all the time. So they've got 4 different apps that they're running of the dedicated apps, and they leapfrog each other as far as capabilities goes. I just saw today, I was just sharing that Evernote's releasing a new Mac version that's going to access that new Mac touch bar that's on the MacBook Pro. Mm-hmm. So the desktop app on the Mac is going to be different. So don't worry about the physical layout of the app itself. It's about how you use the app, not about how the app works, about how, where you click and where different things are stored. They all have the same basic functionality. The odd time, depending on version upgrades, there's slightly different functionality between the different apps. The Mac version of the mobile app right now, light years ahead of the Windows, of the Android version.
Okay. Let's see. How do I recover a note that was deleted in error?
You go into the trash. Yeah, you look for the trash, and it's there in the trash. You can find it.
All right. Your shortcuts are to an individual note, 1-to-1. So are your shortcuts just 1-to-1 is the question.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, it's just one note. I tend to make big notes that are kind of like one place where, while we're working on a project, and then I'll either split that out. Sometimes I'll take sections of that and use it to create a Google Doc or other things. But the way I work is like on a canvas where I have it all there, and then I parse the stuff around when I need it.
All right, great. Deborah, it sounds like she might be just getting started using Evernote. She's not sure where to find the inbox.
Oh, there is no inbox. I think, what does Evernote call it automatically? I created a folder called the inbox, which is my default notebook, which is my default notebook. And I call it the inbox. That's the way that a lot of people set it up, because that's the metaphor that works for me. But it's basically the default notebook that Evernote starts with. And that's where, so any incoming information is automatically stored there.
All right. Carol's asking, how do you make your notes consistent so that you don't have to remember 20 different ways to access a certain piece of information?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just the more you use it, that you just kind of develop your own system over time. I make sure I give a really clear name, which makes it easy for search, and then applying the proper tag structure so I can have context as I'm searching for it. It's just basic good practices.
Okay. How do you successfully rely on search when you have multiple users, each person thinking of a different keyword to search, which might not be consistent?
I don't know.
Maybe a key, like a note that has all the tags.
I think get on the same page.
All right, let's see. We've already answered that. I use Outlook and have Evernote as an add-in. Sometimes when I click the button to bring it into Evernote, sometimes it's blank. Apple emails especially. Then I have to use the Evernote email address. It's more of a statement than a question. I'm not sure.
Yeah. And that's a technical support thing for Evernote. Yeah.
All right, great. How can I back up notes in Evernote, or is there a need for that?
Yeah, it's a good idea to back them up. We cover it in the course. There's a place to archive and to back up, and it's a good practice to do. There's an Evernote note format that you can back it all up for.
All right. When I download something like a bank statement and use Web Clipper, I get a warning that says Evernote can't clip a PDF. What are some workarounds for this?
You can save a PDF to Evernote, and you can mail it. You could also mail it in, email it in.
Okay. Let's see. I notice you do not have notebooks, only notes. Is that correct?
No, I do have notebooks, but they are in antiquity. I set it up originally with lots of notebooks because I thought I had to have all of this structure. But increasingly, I whenever I curate my content and go through it, I reduce the number of notebooks to less and less notebooks, just because Evernote search is so profound and so good, and the tagging works so well. So I do have notebooks, but I know people who have Evernote with no notebooks, and it works just great for them.
Okay. How about security issues? Is Evernote to be trusted for storing company documents? Is the content being scanned by search engines?
Evernote went through a real kerfuffle. Is that the right word for it? About 3-4 months ago.
It sounds that anyway.
Evernote has something. Evernote's predictive search. What they do is they're constantly trying to improve the quality of search. So they're trying to do good predictive search for you. So they're trying to figure out whether or not, as they bring up results, if they're accurate. So Evernote wanted the ability to be able to check their predictive search and be able to look at your notes and see what they were doing, having a person do that. And the internet community went crazy, and Evernote had to back off on that. So Evernote, their people do not look at your notes. As far as, you can trust them as much as you can trust any other online company. We've already had the conversation about how secure it is, which in my mind it's not secure. It's secure enough for me to use, but I wouldn't put sensitive company documents and use it to archive my, sensitive company proprietary content. The secret plans that are going to make of your secret gizmo that's going to change the world, I wouldn't be storing in Evernote.
All right, great. So where are we? Believe it or not, we're actually getting down there. So
is it because I'm talking fast?
It is. Aren't I giving you the questions fast too?
You guys, I'm just wondering why I'm here. You guys have this handled.
Don't worry, Jen. Your time will come.
Beautiful looks.
This Facebook Live thing.
All right.
Help me with Wirecast at some point. Steve, the technical expert, can't seem to make Wirecast work properly to feed through to Facebook Live.
We did have a question about.
Go ahead, Jen.
Okay,
this
sorry.
is your time to shine.
No, I refreshed it just to see if it would unfreeze, and I heard that audio. And so I thought there was this audio, and then I realized I already heard that audio. So anyway, we did have a question from Lisa. She was wondering where Have Fun Storm in the Castle comes from. She asked if it was a Canadian thing.
It's not a Canadian thing. And I'm very profoundly disappointed in Lisa. As I was disappointed in you guys, because you guys didn't know either. It's from The Princess Bride. Billy Crystal's character, Miracle Max, says to the hero as they're off on a futile effort to save the princess, "Have fun storming a castle."
You haven't asked me that lately. You can't ask me today because I'm not prepared, but I'm ready. I'm ready.
not prepared, but I'm ready.
Okay.
Do we have any more relevant questions?
Hey.
We've got hundreds of people. We need to respect their time.
All right, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, friends. Is there an advanced course for Evernote? I have taken your Evernote Made Easy course and would like to find ways to further utilize this tool.
Is that your dog going crazy?
It is, and I'm sorry. He's upstairs. He's like in.
Charlie's actually growling and looking for him right now. No, we don't have an advanced Evernote course. I've thought about it. I've had conversations. There goes Farley. He's trying to find your dog. But no, we don't have it yet. It's something that's under consideration.
All right. And how do you protect your IP when you share course content if the recipient can save the content to his notebook? Can't hear. Okay.
I don't worry about it. You know, we create great content. And we think we have a very nurturing and welcoming community. The odd person is going to take advantage, and they're going to take your content and they're going to share it for themselves. They're going to steal it. But for me to protect it so much that was hard for them to do, meant that it would make it difficult for the regular people that we work with to get access to the content. So, I mean, if we find somebody stealing our stuff, we ask them to stop, and we would take whatever measures. But I'm not big on draconian measures of really clamping your content down. That's one of the reasons we use Thinkific as our delivery platform, as it's very open, very easy to get into. I mean, we think it does a fairly good job of protecting our content, but it also makes it really easy for our community to gain access. That's one of the things that I love about delivering the Evernote course the way it is the amount of technical support we have to do on the delivery of the webinar, of the course, is almost nothing. And consequently, even though there's probably some loss through theft, the amount of time the small amount of time we have to spend supporting it, and the small amount of frustration, very little frustration that our customers have in accessing the course makes it worthwhile.
Okay. Can you store video in Evernote?
No, that's one of the things. That's one of the places OneNote really has an advantage on Evernote, is you can embed OneNote videos in OneNote. Evernote, the way that we share videos in Evernote is we share a link and then you view them on the YouTube play page.
All right, Colin's asking, can those that receive our shared notes who are not Evernote users to easily do what they want with it? Meaning, like, can they save it as a PDF? So whoever we send it to, can they manipulate the document?
No, they have to save it. They have to create an Evernote account and save it into Evernote to easily manipulate it.
All right.
But that's free, and it shouldn't be a difficult thing for them.
Okay. How different is Evernote in different platforms? For example, Android or Windows or Mac?
It's a moving target. Sometimes it's very different. Right now, the Evernote app on Android and Mac and iOS are quite a bit different. But for the longest time, they were virtually identical. So it depends on what versions you're in. There's minor differences between all the platforms. And I would call them all minor.
Okay. Our friend Barbara's asking, when you make a change to Evernote, you have shared the URL. Do you have to resend the URL to people for them to see the change, or can they just use the original URL you sent?
They can refresh with the original URL, but their local document won't reflect the change unless they refresh it.
Okay. John's asking if you can touch base on business cards. Do they still have the deal with LinkedIn and able to download images? If you copy business cards into Evernote, what can you do with them? Is the form compatible?
Business cards will manage your contact. The business card manager is there. And in the premium version, certainly the LinkedIn integration is still there. I do not believe it's there in the free version, though.
Okay.
But the Evernote camera and the quality of the Evernote camera, especially when you use Scannable from Evernote,
I love Scannable.
Capturing information. It's spectacular.
All right. How does your Evernote Quick Start different from your Evernote Made Easy course?
Evernote Quick Start is for people at the very beginning who really just don't see the value and kind of want to get going and maybe have tried but haven't succeeded in starting with Evernote. And it kind of walks you through the value. Evernote Made Easy is if you've decided Evernote is for you and you want to start and you want to really integrate it in your life. And the thing about the Evernote Made Easy course is this: 10 days, 10 lessons come to you every morning. That lesson's in your inbox. You open it up, you save it to Evernote. It gets you in the Evernote habit. What I want you to do, if you're going to start to use Evernote, is get in what I call the Evernote's the first place you think of storing something. You stumble across something on a website, you go, that's interesting. It's something you shouldn't even think that's something I should be thinking about or storing. You should go, oh, I'm going to clip that to Evernote. Boom, it's there. And even if you never look at it again, the fact that you're storing it there adds to value because you might use it at some point in the future. Getting into the Evernote habit when you're out and about and you have a meal, taking the picture of the receipts, storing them in Evernote. So you've got them there for your accountant when you're ready to do your books. Getting in the Evernote habit is, in my mind, the most essential part of using Evernote. And getting those lessons every day from Evernote Made Easy gets you set up for that.
Okay, Mari's asking, I don't quite understand how Evernote and Dropbox are not all in the same thing. They're both sharing files. A few words on how to optimize for each.
Well, again, Evernote and Dropbox are vastly different applications. Evernote, you create notes in. Dropbox, you'd have to create a note. Well, I guess you can in Dropbox paper, but you're typically creating, using Dropbox for documents or videos or music or photos and images. Evernote is where we create those, where you capture the images to it. If you are watching a presentation and there's a whiteboard, how are you going to get those whiteboard images into Dropbox? It's going to take multiple steps. You're going to have to take photos. You're going to have to back the photos up. With Evernote, you just capture them into Evernote and you add notes to them in Evernote. So it's where you store that digital information. Dropbox, think of it as sharing primarily with your team or backing up your information.
Okay. Is there an efficient way to export files to a PDF without all of the documents being exported with odd names and as separate documents?
I'm not positive. It's a good question. I'm not sure the easiest way. Because I have my stuff backed up onto so many devices, I don't personally back up my Evernote account all the time. So I haven't gone through the machinations. Not since I designed the course when I showed people how to do it for the first time. So I haven't looked at it in a long time.
Okay. Gail is asking, first, Gail, there's never a silly question. Do you ever need to do a backup anywhere? Do you ever need to do a backup anywhere? Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure you do. I back up all of my media files and all of that, all of my content for the channel and for all of that content that's in a single place. My office type documents and email, because I have multiple notebooks and a computer that it's all stored on, that I don't feel it needs backup as much. But all of my working files I do for sure.
Okay. Do you plan to have an advanced course in Evernote?
That question was asked earlier. We're considering it. I just have to figure out exactly if I'm the right person for it. I'm not positive I am the right person to deliver that course, but maybe I'll partner with somebody on it too.
All right. Laura wants to know, will the Bear app ever replace Evernote?
Will the what?
Will the Bear app, BEAR app, ever replace Evernote? Not sure if you're familiar with it. Okay. Which camera do you prefer for business card info capture? Do you export the contact information to a separate contact app?
When I capture, I use Scannable, and then it links to, and then I put them all into Google Contacts. This is the way that I do it personally. There's lots of different ways to attack that particular challenge, but that's the way I do it. Okay.
Keith is asking, how do you save the photos you have taken to Evernote?
I don't use Evernote for photos. When you capture an image in Evernote using the Evernote camera or using Scannable, those images are saved in Evernote, but I don't use Evernote for normal photos.
Okay. I am so sorry. He literally is.
Otter's going to start barking in a minute too.
Oh no, Otter's just sleeping somewhere.
Okay. I don't quite understand how Evernote and Dropbox are. Oh, I'm sorry, I read that one. Right. Can you increase the font size for the note lists and note content?
Yes, you can. Yeah, you select it all. And Evernote's formatting is a little bit one of its weakest aspects, to be honest. And that's another area that OneNote really has it over Evernote, is how well it formats documents and how much better control you have over layout. But you can adjust the size of the font in your documents.
Can you review how the replay works and how long it's available? Because we've had 2 questions about replay and the other ones not being available after a period of time.
Yeah. So at 48 hours after the webinar ends, the replay will be available as a webinar replay. So you'll get an email with a webinar replay. Additionally, there will be a replay that I put on YouTube, which will look slightly different. It will include all of the chat in the sidebar as well, but it won't allow you to ask questions during it. It'll be just a video of it. That will be available on YouTube also for 48 hours. 48 hours after those, so on Friday, all of those replays will be taken down, and then the replays will be only available to our patrons and Patreon.
Okay. Let's see. I asked earlier, but I haven't heard yet. In the last 2 days, Evernote has mismatched the indexing. So titles of some notes are associated with contents on other notes. Any ideas?
No. You're going to have to deal with Evernote's tech support for that. Sorry.
All right. Is there any bandwidth limits or number of visitor limits on publishing a note?
Nope.
All right. Can I share the replay with others that are struggling to learn Evernote? Can she share?
Absolutely. For 48 hours. Yeah, for sure.
Perfect.
And you know what? And if they are struggling to learn it, share the Evernote Quick Start guide with them.
Okay. Let's see. Can I share the okay? How do I eliminate folders without eliminating content?
You can just copy the notes across. You can reassign notes to any notebook.
Okay. Whatever happened to the video about Peloton? I received the email, but the video is not there. I'm not sure what.
Peloton?
Peloton, yeah.
It's still online.
Okay.
I think.
Have you ever tried Microsoft OneNote? If yes, is it worth versus Evernote? Unfortunately, Evernote does not support Andreas's native language. So I'm going to put the video in between the difference between.
I like OneNote. I think OneNote is an excellent tool. It doesn't do as great a job in search and a few other things as Evernote, but it does a better job in other areas. If I lived in the Microsoft ecosphere, if I was a 360 user, if I was on a Surface, OneNote would be my choice.
Okay.
It's that good.
All right. Let's see. Okay. I thought we were getting down there.
Well, but while you're doing that, let me just do a quick shout out because we've got a bunch of new patrons on Patreon. So Clark and Rainey and Greg and Rose and John, thank you very much for stepping up to the plate and helping to support us here on Dottotech. It'll be a few minutes. I'll send you a welcome note with all of the links that you need to get access to Evernote Made Easy and all of the other stuff. So welcome aboard. We appreciate you joining us big time. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. It looks like Peloton, Steve. Remember we had to do a version 2, and it looks like that version 2 never got published. I think we were postponing it until after the course. You said you were going to be kind of slow on videos.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll update it. I don't know what happened there. I've had a cold and I haven't been my normal intelligent self.
All right. Do you think that storing info for just in case in Evernote is a habit equal to not deleting your emails just in case you might need it sometime?
No.
Okay. Do you think you need to back up Evernote?
I think it's a good idea too. Yeah.
All right. And Mel's just asking you to share again about the BuzzSumo information you shared earlier. Can you just give a quick review of what it does and
well, BuzzSumo is a internet trends tracker. So it looks for trends and influencers online, and it gives you reports back. So they've got a free version that you can use that is fairly limited in functionality, but I use it for my research so that I can stay on top of what's happening and what's cool. It's how I remain the coolest kid on the block.
All right. That is actually, I have one more here. Do we have to do the Evernote Quick Start now, or is there a way to link it in a few days from now?
Oh yeah, you can start it at any time. It's a free course that we have on it's free and it's available. It's not that it was a special thing for this group. It's just I wanted to let you know about it here, but it's always been available.
Okay. And that is it. We are
awesome
at the end.
Woohoo!
Well, with that, I'm going to thank everybody so very, very much. How did we do as far as, we didn't get too much, we weren't having too much issues as far as the quality coming through. You guys, have we? The audio has been feeding better today, hasn't it?
It has.
It has been.
Good. That's good to know, especially since we had so many people. Well, folks, hope to see you next week. We thank you very much, Jen, April, myself. We do appreciate you all, to all of our new patrons and all of our existing patrons. We're sending you a big hug. I guess is it Easter weekend this weekend?
Yes,
It is.
Have a
Easter bunny's
blessed
coming to
Easter.
town.
Spending time with your family. Hug a bunny.
Hug a bunny. Find some eggs.
Okay. Till next time. Have fun storming the castle.